We're live. Oh, what, Chris? We are live.
Good evening, the Excellencies, Ambassadors, and everyone present here. My name is Wanfon Joshua, and I am from Nigeria. I am a junior scholar of the Rondine Cittadella della Pace World House, and on behalf of Rondine scholars and alumni from across the world, I welcome you to this remarkable event. I thank you, the Excellencies and distinguished guests, for joining us today, and a special thank you to Rondine for creating an initiative that provides young people with the opportunity to truly become young leaders of peace. It has been an exciting journey for me in Rondine so far, as I am living closely with other young people from armed conflict and post-conflict regions of the world, with whom I am exchanging experiences and culture. Also, within the short period of my stay here, I have started learning the strategies of managing conflict and promoting peace from a youth-led perspective. At the end of our training, we are expected to implement a social impact project and participate in peace dialogues for the benefit of our immediate society. As this event progresses, you will hear more on our project from our alumni. Today, as we celebrate the International Day of Human Rights with the theme Equality, Reducing Inequalities and Advancing Human Rights, we seek to address and find solutions to the deep-rooted form of discrimination that has affected the most vulnerable people of our society, especially as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Pre-existing fragilities and tensions make some societies a fertile context for conflict and discrimination to grow and conquer the hearts and minds of millions of people around the planet. This is increasingly dangerous and unacceptable. And so, as young people, we must listen to the other. We must explore solutions. We cannot remain indifferent. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, Excellencies, Ambassadors. My name is Christopher Eke from Nigeria. I am a student of the World House Rondine Cittadella della Pace, and once again, I would like to welcome you to this December event, the Global Leaders for Peace campaign. As a community of Rondine students, we would like to thank the permanent representation of Italy and Costa Rica to the United Nations for co-sponsoring this event. The theme of our 2020 event, titled Diffusing New Tension, was perhaps a sad but realistic prediction of new strains of conflict and human rights violation as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. A year after, we are currently experiencing what we predicted, that the pandemic has acted and continues to act as an amplifier of our pre-existing problems. It becomes necessary that we find an innovative way to halt conflict through education and human rights intervention. Hence the theme of this year's event, Transformative Peace Education and Human Rights in a Fragile World. Out of the 12 proposals from the report of the UN Secretary General titled Our Common Agenda and published in September 2021, at least 4 fully align with the objectives of the Global Leaders for Peace campaign. These proposals include to actively promote peace and conflict prevention, to abide by international law and ensure justice, to treat human rights as a problem-solving tool, including the rights relating to frontier technologies and internet access, to guarantee centrality to women and girls, especially younger girls, and to listen to young people and include them in the decision-making processes. In celebration of the International Day of Human Rights, I would like to end by quoting former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who said, "We declare that human rights are for all of us, all the time, whoever we are and wherever we come from, no matter our class, our opinions, and our sexual orientation." Once again, I would like to welcome you to this event, and with no further ado, I would like to pass the floor to the moderator of this event, our senior colleague from Colombia, Sergio. Over to you.
Thank you so much to my colleagues, Wakfon and Christopher, for your wonderful words. And good afternoon, Excellencies, today's speakers, and viewers who follow us through Facebook Live. Welcome to today's event, Transformative Peace, Education, and Human Rights in a Fragile World, together towards 2022 and 2023. In occasion of the Human Rights International Day and the celebration of the third anniversary of the launch of the Leaders for Peace campaign by Rondine Cittadella della Pace. I would like to thank all the distinguished members of the panel, Rondine alumni, and our collaborators, Rondine International Peace Lab, the Permanent Mission of Italy in the UN, and the Permanent Mission of Costa Rica and the UN. It is in this important occasion, we will discuss diverse topics related to transformative peace through education and human rights in a volatile, changing, and sometimes called fragile world. Struck not only by the COVID-19 pandemic and all its repercussions in today's society, culture, from individual to countries. The panel will have a duration of 1 hour with the intervention from 6 diverse panelists from diverse backgrounds, all related to today's topic. Today's panel also marks the 4th annual event for the campaign Leaders for Peace, in which we gather together to discuss relevant topics for the achievement of peace from diverse perspectives. Last year's topic was diffusing new tensions, carried on the same day as today with the beautiful, powerful, and moving theatrical performance titled I'm a Person Just Like You, carried away by our Rondine alumni. And in today's event, we will also see different projects led by Rondine students who are committed to bring their vision to peace, not only to talk about peace, but to bring it to reality. We will also explore more about the changing power that lies over the young people, over the young population of this world, a power capable not only to transform today's society, but also to leave a meaningful and positive mark for the future. Power that can be supported by all entities in the society through global programs like Rondine's campaign Leader for Peace, who was extended for 2 more years until the year 2023, who seek through the changing power of youth the achievement of peace and development for the world. Without further ado, let's start our list of distinguished panelists. I have the honor, in this case, to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Maurizio Massari, Permanent Representative of Italy to the United Nations in New York, a very close friend of Rondine and supporter of the vision and mission of Rondine. Thank you so much, Excellency, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning for you. It's good evening to everyone. I wish to thank Rondine's president, Franco Vaccari, and all the Rondine team, along with the students and alumni for organizing today's event, which we are happy and actually proud to co-sponsor along with Costa Rica. Exactly 2 years ago, the permanent mission of Italy to the UN promoted an event at the UN headquarters within the Leaders for Peace campaign initiated by Rondine to promote the role of youth as agents of change and active builders of inclusive and peaceful societies. For more than 20 years, Rondine has been training young people from conflict and post-conflict areas to the values of peace, reconciliation, and intercultural dialogue, in line with the priorities Italy promotes every day here at the UN in New York. And this is why we have a consolidated cooperation with Rondine, especially here in New York. It is very timely that today's discussion focuses on welcoming the UN Secretary General, our Common Agenda report. This report, as you know, aims at strengthening solidarity with both younger and succeeding generations within a renewed social contract, anchored in human rights, particularly focusing on enhancing trust, fighting discrimination and exclusion, reinforcing education, and fostering a full, equal, and meaningful participation of youth in decision-making in all aspects of society. Listening to and working with the youth is listed among the 12 commitments identified within our common agenda, involving the engagement to remove barriers to their participation. It is a fact that today's decisions on the major challenges that we face before us, such as climate, technology, and development, will profoundly profoundly alter the livelihood of more than 10 billion people. They require and make even more important, I would say, mandatory to hear the voice of young generations. The SG's report also puts a special emphasis on conflict prevention through adequate, predictable, and sustained financing for peace building, gender responsiveness, coupled with more investments in crisis prevention and efforts to reduce strategic risks and strengthen resilience. The broad conceptualization of peace that we find in the new agenda for peace goes beyond the traditional peace and political processes to include gender equality, human rights, health, social protection, climate action, development, and disarmament. In our view, the role youth can play in promoting peace is pivotal, and this assumption is at the core of Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security, and the UN Strategy Youth 2030. Young people are not only victims of war, but can and must be the key to change, the true guardians of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Italy, therefore, strongly supports the agenda's recommendation for meaningful, diverse, and effective youth engagement at all levels, both within and outside the United Nations, including through better political representation, transforming education, skill training, and lifelong learning. We also subscribe to the centrality the agenda claims for women and girls, especially younger girls, within the renewed social contract. This should be achieved by repealing gender discriminatory laws, promoting gender parity, facilitating women's economic inclusion, including the voices of younger women, eradicating violence against women and girls. It is only through the full, equal, and meaningful participation of women and girls in all aspects of society that we can build a strong, resilient, and broader sustainable peace. Dear participants, we will listen today to the voices of many young people, girls and boys, who are the living testimony of the importance of this discussion. They are tomorrow's leaders, and they have a role to play as agents of a new narrative of peace and dialogue. In this sense, Rondine is a source of inspiration and exemplary in the way it puts youth front and center. Peace and peaceful coexistence are built on dialogue and mutual understanding, values that its students, despite having lived through dramatic experiences, have come to master. I thank you very much again for this initiative, this invitation, and I wish you an interesting interactive discussion, and of course, a happy International Human Rights Day to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for these words, Your Excellency. I really appreciate the fact of highlighting the important role of the woman, especially the young women, in this mission of achievement of peace. Thank you so much, Anne. And our next distinguished panelist is His Excellency Rodrigo Carazo, Permanent Representative of Costa Rica to the United Nations in New York. Costa Rica being one of the countries who signed the Leaders for Peace appeal and is one of the big centers for the construction of peace in the world. Welcome again, and thank you for your participation in today's event.
Well, thank you very much. It is indeed a great honor to participate again in the Rondines event and to participate together with the permanent representative of Italy, with Maurizio, with whom we work together in many issues here at the United States. December the 10th, International Day for Human Rights, always sends messages and always sends strong messages in regards not only to the human rights that have been attained for a larger proportion of humanity, but also to remember the many challenges that the completion, the fulfillment of human rights has for billions of people in the world. It is a human right for the children in Afghanistan that are programmed to die, 1 million of them, of starvation, if the world doesn't do something about it. That is a call for action in human rights and a call for action for the whole world. But here I am asked to participate in the program of youth. And well, my young person, my young expert in this issue was so kind as to write some letters, some words for me to say. And after we spoke about what I wanted to write, he wrote that I should state from the beginning that despite my title and my experience, which in the field of human rights is very extensive, that despite that, I'm not the right person to be addressing a panel on youth, of youth and for youth. It is the young persons, and I should share in all the comments done by my colleague Maurizio Massari in this regard, and in the many instances in which this common agenda recently presented by the Secretary General of the United Nations opens for youth. Youth should take the driver's seat. It is not enough at this moment that we listen to youth. It is important that youth take the lead, because you know the answers. You know the answer better. You know the answers to the common issues and to the issues of the future better than we do. Take that driver's seat and begin to act. Begin to act in the challenges to democracy that exists. Begin to act in the vision of a new era for education, which connectivity becomes a human right, and a human right for all. Begin to act in regards of the trust that the populations may have and should have in the governance of the different countries and entities, trust that has been dwindling enormously in the past. But if we talk less and you act more, the world will be coming up in a better way. Thank you very much. And as you see, I do very much enjoy this participation.
Thank you so much for your intervention, Your Excellency, it's very important to point this expression that the young needs to be on the driver's seat. I think it's really a call for us, for all the young around the world, not only to be on the driver's seat, but also to learn from different generations, because every generation has something to teach us. I think that in order to see the future, we never have to forget our past. And it's our mission and it's our duty to keep what is good, to transform what can be transformed, and to keep looking at the future. Thanks so much again. And for our next intervention, in this case, it's my honor to welcome Marija Vasileva-Blazev, Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General Envoy on Youth, Chief of Staff, Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and a very, very keen supporter of the initiative of Leader for Peace and Rondine Cittadella della Pace. Thank you so much. And
thank you so much. Excellencies, dear colleagues and Rondine World House students, present and past, I'm so pleased to be here with all of you today, representing the Office of the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, Ms. Jayatma Wickramanayake. Please allow me to thank Rondine for organizing this event to discuss young people's leadership in advancing peace, education, and human rights. This event is very timely as we celebrate today the International Day of Human Rights, just one day after the 6th anniversary of the adoption of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security. Young people's contributions to more peaceful, just, and inclusive societies bridge the silos of human rights and peace and security agendas. As demonstrated in a recent global report on protecting young people in civic space, commissioned by our office, young people are not only the holders of fundamental human rights, but also the main protagonists of human rights protection worldwide. From promoting human rights through youth-led organizations to developing civic education programs, youth lead as human rights defenders and educators. This recognition is at the heart of Youth 2030, the United Nations system-wide youth strategy, which represents a roadmap for action for the United Nations and its partners in working with and for young people towards the world envisaged in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Today's event reinforces this intersection by exploring the transformational potential of peace, education, and human rights. Education occupies a critical place in young people's lives, livelihoods, and futures, including in relation to peace and security. From young people living in remote parts of the globe to those involved in transnational networks, young people see education as indispensable to building peace and preventing violent conflict, as well as for fostering sustainable development, achieving gender equality, climate action, human rights, and leaving no one behind. Unfortunately, this week is not only a week of celebrations, it is also a time to reflect on the challenges young people face and the gaps in advancing their participation in peace and security efforts and the promotion of their human rights. Young people today are exposed to some of the most complex challenges in history. Due to the global COVID-19 pandemic, millions of young people had their education and skills development disrupted. Consequences of prolonged conflicts and climate change are intensifying, and young marginalized groups are affected by these issues disproportionately. One thing I have learned while working aside the Youth Envoy is that wisdom does not only come with age. Initiatives such as the Leaders for Peace campaign are much needed to support young leaders of peace who are working on the forefront of positive social change and the full respect of human rights. That is why the fourth phase of the World Programme for Human Rights Education, which our office coordinates together with UNESCO and OHCHR, focuses on human rights education for, by, and with youth. I take this opportunity to urge everyone here to advance education by, for, and through peace and human rights with young people as full-fledged partners at all levels. In his call to action for human rights, and more recently in our common agenda, mentioned by the previous speakers before, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres committed the United Nations system to pay more attention to the rights of young people and future generations. He emphasized the importance of removing barriers for young people to participate in shaping the decisions that affect their lives today and in the future. The Youth Envoy and our office is committed to continue to work with all of you to bring this vision to life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your participation. I would really like to highlight something one word that has been repeated in today's interventions, and is that the young people, we are also guardians of the human rights. It's a very powerful statement. I think we are not, as you said, it's not only we are holders, we are benefactors of human rights, but we are also the guardians. We are the ones called to defend and to progress in this topic. I think it's a topic that it's a statement that has been repeated, and it's very powerful. And now, thank you so much again. And to continue with our program, now we're giving the word to a couple of our Rondine alumni who are putting this vision of peace and working for peace into the field. In this case, we have NnaemekaPhil Eke-Okacha, Rondine alumni from Nigeria, and founder of one of the diverse programs that Rondine allows to students, founder of Project ADESSO. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would love to thank Your Excellencies, Ambassador Maurizio Massari, Ambassador Rodrigo Carazo, and Marija, and others present for joining. And thank you to Rondine as well for inviting and pulling together this caliber of personalities. My name is Phil from Nigeria, and I'm a former fellow at Rondine Cittadella della Pace and founder of ADESSO. ADESSO is a youth-led non-governmental organization based in Nigeria that sets itself to improve public schools' access to quality education. ADESSO aims to address the quality of education, digital divide, promote inclusion, and responsible consumption and production. Our mission is to improve equitable access to quality education, promote digital literacy for all, and social inclusion. I'm proud to have spent the last 2 years of my life at Rondine and returned home to implement such a project. Thanks to this rich experience of living with other young people from different cultures and religious backgrounds, I was able to learn the importance of stories and how stories can serve as a bridge that connects people. One of the key principles enshrined in the Agenda 2030 is the right to education. SDG 4 is a rights-based goal that aims to ensure that everyone has access to quality education as a prerequisite for the Sustainable Development Goals. Despite this, many children continue to be denied access to quality education. As a young child, I never had access to a digital device. I learned how to use a computer through images, and many other young Nigerian children face the same challenges. This prompted my decision to implement a project that meets the needs of my community and to fight for the rights of children to quality education. So far, we have been able to donate over 2,000 educational materials, enrolled out-of-school children back to school, constructed volleyball courts for 2 all-girls schools that had no sports facilities unlike their male counterparts, and started training young Nigerians on tech skills to help them become self-sufficient. We have been able to upskill students and promote the quality of education and engage stakeholders. Despite all our achievements, we have faced some challenges along the way. Most organizations aren't willing to collaborate with youth due to certain stereotypes that place youth as inexperienced and too young to lead. These assumptions in recent years have been proven to be false. Youth are energetic, innovative, and creative sources of transformation. Development and conflict don't often go in hand. Who is more affected by conflict? It's a simple answer. The answer is young people. As Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This is why from January 2020, we will be launching our Peace Lab, where we'll be engaging youth on the topic of conflict resolution, climate change, human rights, and the SDGs. The UN Secretary General's historic Our Common Agenda report in September 2021 paints a picture of a future based on solidarity and a common cause, in which global decision making is more inclusive and young people shape their own future. The framework is firmly rooted in human rights and it calls for a renewed global solidarity. We need to work together to fight the new threats to human rights in order to achieve a safer future. On this day last year, I'm a person just like you was our message. And I would like to re-echo those words again. I am a person just like you. It's important that we live our lives with the understanding that we're all branches of the same tree, and diversity can be used as an instrument of change. In Africa, we have the Ubuntu philosophy, which states, I am because you are, and you are because we are. This is what 2 years in Rondine has taught me. I would like to end by saying, as I've always mentioned, youth are the missing piece. By 2030, the world is expected to experience its largest youth population, and I think it's important that we engage youth for an inclusive and sustainable future. Thank you to Rondine, who saw this vision 2 decades ago and has taken a step further with his Leaders for Peace campaign. The objective being the gradual extinction of war context from the world through the affirmation of a new culture that unmasks the false concept of the enemy, producing immense benefits and spreading among its citizens the skills to positively transform conflict, integrating the teaching of the Rondine method with human rights. I wish you all a wonderful Human Rights Day, but I want to end with the same words. I am a person just like you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil, because it's a beautiful insight of what our experience can be on the field. I also have experience that happened when once as a young people, as part of the youth, tries to transform something and found these barriers. Sometimes inexperience is considered as something that will not allow you to develop yourself. But inexperience is also an opportunity, because the inexperience will allow you to have a different perspective, a fresh perspective. And I think that this is something that as young people we have to approach. Thank you so much again, Phil. Okay, to continue, we have another alumni from Rondine Cittadella della Pace, in this case, participant in the Mediterranean Frontier of Peace program, and is Amina Surkovic from Bosnia and Herzegovina, which has a War Childhood Museum project in which he wants to explore a little bit more about this part of the memory of the war and conflicts. Thank you so much, Amina.
Good evening, Sergio. Good evening, Excellencies, ambassadors, distinguished guests, everyone. My name is Amina. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. My journey with Rondine started in July 2020, when I got involved in the project Mediterranean Frontier of Peace, Education and Reconciliation, thanks to the support of the Italian Episcopal Conference. In this project, we are 11 young people coming from conflict and post-conflict countries, countries that still have to work on their reconciliation. The training program for us in Rondine included different workshops on leadership, seeking a true transformation of ourselves according to the modules of the Rondine method. In addition to this, we shared part of our daily life and educational experience with the students of World House International Campus, which is the main project of Rondine Cittadella della Pace. For me personally, Rondine was like a new reality. It was a space where you can be yourself while living with other people. When you come to Rondine, you think your conflict is more important than the other ones, but in a global point of view, everyone is affected with conflicts, and it does not matter who had more years of conflict, who is still in conflict. But the important thing is how we are dealing with it and what can we do to transform it into something positive. If I'm able to accept the pain of victims of any side without judging, then the purpose of Rondine method is accomplished. When it does not matter the country, the nationality, the religion, but instead the emotion, the nice memory you have with the other person in Rondine, then you are on the right way to deconstruct the image of the enemy that you have or had. After living in Rondine, we all came back to our countries and took an active role in our everyday realities. Each of us is now implementing a project that was written and developed during our year in Rondine. The partner organization for my project is War Childhood Museum. The project will support students in recognizing diversity as an empowering factor and developing the ability to accept plurality of opinions. The reason I chose this museum is because it is one of few places in still divided country where young people from different backgrounds can meet and where open dialogue can take place, allowing shared narratives to be built. The museum itself is focused exclusively on the experiences of children whose childhoods were affected by the armed conflicts. Although it's located in Sarajevo with its soul very much rooted in this city and its collective memory of war, the museum's aim was, however, broader than its territory, and it was to study and present the collective multi-layered experience of childhood in times of war in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in other major conflict and post-conflict zones in the world, and thus to fill a gap by documenting war experiences from children's perspective. Through this focus, the museum has set itself the high goal of becoming a platform for communal healing, reconciliation, and an effective medium for projecting children's creative resilience and growing them into functional adults, which is contrary to pervasive stereotypical representations of kids as faceless and passive war victims. During the war in Sarajevo, more than 11,000 citizens were killed. That was part of everyday life. However, this is not a project about that, but about the experiences of the empowered survivors. This sense of young people power in shaping better and more peaceful societies is exactly what Rondine asks from us when we come back to our countries. This is why it is so important to have spaces and platforms like this so that young people from various ethnicities and every other differences have the chance to meet, to speak, to listen, and build mutual trust and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina. Really appreciate your intervention. It's glad to see you again.
Yeah, glad to see you again.
That's it. It's important, really important, what you were saying about this giving a face to these children and these people who were affected by the war. Sometimes we found war or conflict as a faceless thing, something that can only be measured by numbers, casualties, victims. And it's a great, personally, I think it's a great project to give face, to give importance to these people, to these young, to these children. Because it's also part of what we were stating before, about looking at the future without forgetting what was in the past. The past can teach us too a lot. We cannot repeat the mistake we made in the past, but we can learn from it. This is a really important step that we have to take and we have to develop. I also really would like to highlight the importance of Rondine method into this project, in which not only we can see the people, we can see the faces behind different attacks, different enemies between adversaries, but we also have to understand that we are dealing with people, and people have really different approach to situation. So we have to be very abrupt. We have to start building bridges and destroying walls, something that we as youth is a very big challenge ahead. Okay, to continue with our panelists, we have now very special guests from the house. Franco Vaccari, president and founder of Rondine Cittadella della Pace, who will be live translated from Italian to English for all of our international viewers. Thank you so much, Franco, for being here, and please, the microphone is yours.
Grazie, buonasera a tutti e un grande ringraziamento a tutti i partecipanti, in modo particolare all'ambasciatore Maurizio Massari, che saluto con stima e gratitudine per tutto l'appoggio che dà insieme alla rappresentanza presso le Nazioni Unite a Rondine e alla campagna di questi giovani coraggiosi. Grazie davvero.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you to all of our distinguished guests. First of all, His Excellency Ambassador Maurizio Massari, thank you for your support and also the support of all the Italy's representations to the United Nations for your support, not only to Rondine, but to all of our projects and all of our students.
Un saluto e un ringraziamento a Sua Eccellenza l'ambasciatore Rodrigo Carazo. E noi siamo grati al Costa Rica che dopo il governo italiano ha voluto unirsi con la firma all'appello dei giovani di Rondine. Grazie, buonasera.
Good evening, and thank you to Ambassador Rodrigo Carrasso. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you to Costa Rica for joining the Leaders for Peace appeal after the Italian government. Thank you very much.
Vorrei dirle la gioia dei giovani di tutta Rondine sparsi nel mondo quando annunciammo la firma del Costa Rica.
I wish I could tell you about the joy of all the young people all around the world, the young people of Rondine, when they knew about Costa Rica's signature, when Costa Rica joined the appeal.
Perché con i giovani diciamo, quando chiediamo cose troppo alte, ci dicono non è possibile, è troppo grande.
Because with young people, when we speak about our ambition, sometimes they say, well, this is way too ambitious, you will never be able to do this.
Quando chiediamo cose troppo piccole, ci dicono ma a che serve?
When we speak about things that are little, the answer is, well, this is useless.
Allora grazie per aver colto l'importanza di questa firma. Ci auguriamo tutti insieme oggi, a 3 anni da quel giorno al Palazzo delle Nazioni Unite, che tanti altri stati mettano questa firma e diano coraggio a questi giovani del mondo che si impegnano per la pace.
So thank you very much for understanding the importance of this signature 3 years after the launch of the campaign, and we hope that over the following years other states and governments will understand this importance and will join the campaign.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Prego.
Un grande saluto alla signora Vasileva-Blazev, è un piacere conoscerla e speriamo di poterci conoscere di persona a New York.
Good evening, and thank you to Marija Vasileva-Blazev. Thank you for being here, and I hope we can meet soon in person in New York.
tramite lei facciamo giungere il ringraziamento al segretario generale.
Through you, we would like to thank also the Secretary General.
Prima di tutto devo dire un po' l'emozione al ricordo di 3 anni fa, quando eravamo a New York a lanciare la campagna con i giovani di Rondine nel palazzo di vetro.
First of all, I would like to think about the emotions we felt 3 years ago when we launched the campaign 3 years ago in New York.
E oggi ci chiediamo che senso può avere un evento così come quello di oggi dopo 2 anni di pandemia.
And today we may wonder, what is the meaning of being here 2 years after the outbreak of the pandemic?
Siamo tutti uniti. Molti lo stanno capendo, non tutti purtroppo.
We are all united, and many have understood this, but not everyone, unfortunately.
I pesci navigano nei mari e negli oceani senza confini.
Fish swim in seas and oceans without any borders.
Gli uccelli volano senza confini.
Birds fly without borders.
I capitali girano nel mondo senza confini.
Money goes around in the world without any borders.
Le mafie girano senza confini.
Mafia work and travel without borders.
I virus girano senza confini.
Viruses travel without borders.
I giovani sono bloccati.
Young people are stuck.
Sono bloccati. E non è più sopportabile che a 73 anni dalla dichiarazione dei diritti umani i giovani siano bloccati dai reticolati, dai muri e da confini sempre più chiusi.
It is unacceptable that young people are stuck after 73 years from the Declaration of Human Rights. Young people remain stuck, closed in gates.
Ci fa piacere Our Common Agenda del segretario generale Gutierrez.
We were happy to read the document Our Common Agenda by Secretary General Guterres.
Da più di 20 anni lavoriamo con i giovani a Rondine.
In Rondine we've been working with young people for over 20 years.
E a Rondine vediamo che dietro questa parola giovani ci sono tutte le differenze.
And in Rondine we see that under the label of young people there are many differences.
Giovani fragili, giovani disabili.
Vulnerable young people with disabilities.
Giovani maschi, giovani femmine.
Young women, young men.
Giovani di minoranze, giovani di maggioranze.
Young people that come from minorities but also from majorities.
Giovani dalla guerra in atto, giovani da società post-guerra.
Young people that come from conflict areas where conflicts are still ongoing, but also young people that come from post-conflict areas.
Rondine cerca di dare questo messaggio. Le differenze che si incontrano producono conflitti.
Rondine tries to convey this message. The differences that meet each other produce conflicts.
Quindi i conflitti sono inevitabili come differenze che si incontrano.
Therefore, conflicts cannot be avoided as differences that meet each other.
Allora dobbiamo cambiare gli occhiali.
So we should change our glasses.
Dobbiamo prendere occhiali nuovi.
We should buy new glasses.
Per vedere il conflitto come occasione positiva.
To see conflict as a positive chance, positive occasion.
Occasione di cambiamento, occasione di crescita, di sviluppo.
A chance to change, to grow.
Però bisogna conoscere il conflitto.
But we also need to know conflicts.
Le dinamiche profonde del conflitto.
The deep dynamics of conflict.
Allora potrà nascere una nuova cultura della relazione. Nella relazione sta ogni energia possibile.
Only in this way will we be able to know a new culture of relationships.
E allora davanti a noi stanno altri 2 anni di campagna Leader for Peace.
So 2 additional years of the campaign Leaders for Peace await us.
Crediamo che da oggi, nei prossimi 2 anni, insieme a voi che siete qui oggi con i giovani di Rondine,
and together with you today and with all the young people of Rondine over the following 2 years,
confidiamo che siano 2 anni di uno sforzo internazionale per un'azione di costruzione della fiducia.
these next 2 years will be an international effort to build trust.
Lo avete visto oggi, nel nostro incontro sono i giovani protagonisti. Li ringrazio tutti per i loro interventi.
You saw it today. Young people for us are protagonists, and I would like to thank them all.
E ringrazio Sergio
And I would like to thank Sergio,
che ha moderato questo incontro.
who was the moderator of this meeting.
Spero che sia il segno, come diceva l'ambasciatore Carazo, che voi prendiate in mano la guida
And I hope this is a sign of, as Ambassador Carazo was saying, of the fact that you are sitting in the driver's seat
e che noi siamo adulti capaci di sostenervi nel vostro cammino. Grazie a tutti.
and that we are adults who are able to support you in your journey. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you so much, Franco, for this beautiful and meaningful intervention. I really appreciate your words. So, to summarize a little bit of what we discussed today, yes, there are some challenges ahead. There are some big challenges. But there are some big opportunities too. We as young people, we are living in a world of constant change, of constant developing, constant evolving. And we have this ability, we have this skill that allows us to integrate and also to evolve with the context. I think young people are going through many phases in the context of COVID-19. We face challenges, not only challenges, personal challenges, being on quarantine, being on lockdown, but also from diverse ambits of the life. For example, economical. We are facing new conflicts every day, and the resurgence of new conflicts from the past, who are now exacerbated by the situation. Yes, we need to be on the driver's seat, but we cannot also forget about the passengers, because we cannot only work for ourselves. We cannot work for our only communities. We have to work for everybody. We have a world to change. And we start working by changing a little person word to change the whole world. I really appreciate also these interventions related to the importance that women and young women has in the changement of the society. Because in many places, when the word young people is spoken, it's only referred to male. And it shouldn't be like this. Girls and young women should be able to work for peace alongside with everybody. It's a call not to arms, but it's a call to the tools. It's a call to put our gloves and start working. We are always talking for peace. We are always talking about peace. But we need to start really working. And it's a really difficult thing to do. That's why there are different programs, different initiatives that allow us to work for this goal, which is peace. Peace in an integral way. Peace in a a diverse aspect way. Not only peace in the political scenario, but also peace in ourselves, peace with the environment, peace in the economic field. These challenges that we have ahead are also big, are also huge. And that's why the Leader for Peace global campaign was born, to give us that support that we need, to give us that base that we need. Sometimes we need tools, sometimes we need skills, sometimes we need a little bit of capital to start, to continue, and to finish. That's why for this event, we also have appeal, the Leader for Peace Global Campaigns Appeal. So we have two students from the World House, junior students in this case, that will continue to read this appeal. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shadi Shamroun, and this is my colleague Aysam Sabella. We are both from the Middle East, and we are students of the World House. We are young people coming from places of war and post-conflict situations, belonging to enemy populations and parties. We have created and experienced human and cultural coexistence in the 20 years of the life of Rondine Cittadella della Pace in Italy. Through its innovative approach to conflict transformation, which we call the Rondine method, we have learned to live together as global brethren.
At Rondine, we have understood how the concept of enemy is a global fallacy that pervades the world's different cultures and insinuates itself into people's lives, emotional, sentimental, intellectual, and cultural, depriving relationships of mutual trust. We have concretely understood how one can move away from the permanent logic of the enemy and prevent a resurgence of this logic in any context. The aim is to preserve the human component in this new global society and to stop poisoning the planet with war, which feeds on preconceived notions of enmity.
Through this extraordinary experience, in which we have overturned conflict into a springboard for human development, we are able to unmask the fallacy that has rendered immovable more than 1 billion people in their thinking and individual or collective behavior. Unmasking this global fallacy will thus enable us to make a quantum leap forward in the respect of human rights, which have yet to be fully exercised due to war and the logic of the enemy that produces it.
This is why we are here at your service. Having recaptured mutual trust among people, we ask states, nations, social, economic, cultural, and religious entities, families, and individuals to heed our appeal. We need global leaders, leaders of peace, trained with this new method, capable of immediately influencing societies and our world to guide change and propel us into a new era of human history.
70 years after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and a century after the end of World War I, we can choose to leave 100 years of war behind us and look ahead to 1,000 years of peace. The objective is the gradual extinction of war from the planet through the affirmation of a culture of pacified relations. For this reason, we must urgently pass on to the leaders and citizens of the world this skill that can positively transform conflict and produce endless benefits.
Leaders for Peace is the name of the 3-year campaign we are launching today. To be more precise, this was the original appeal from 2018, and today we are relaunching this campaign until 2023, and for which we ask the 193 UN member states and other nations, social, religious, and economic entities, families, and private individuals to provide for the training of new global peace leaders who can intervene in the main context of armed conflict in the world, to promote the development of pacified social, economic, and political relations. Rondine is committed to train the first 200 leaders over the next 10 years with its global intervention project.
Extend to all the member states education on human rights in their national education system, integrating them with the result of the Rondine method on the creative transformation of conflict, as a significant development of Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Donate scholarships to train new global leaders. We ask member states for a symbolic contribution which can be earmarked in their defense budgets.
This is our first step. We are waiting for yours. Thank you.
Good evening once again. It's been an amazing evening. We would like to once again thank the Excellencies, ambassadors, and everyone, our distinguished guests, for joining us here today. And a very special thank you to Rondine for creating an initiative that allows young people like us the opportunity to become active young leaders of peace.
Thank you everyone who joined us from across the world. Have a good evening, and remember, we cannot remain indifferent. Thank you.
Thank you.